Right, here we go. Sadiq Khan has got plenty of critics, but even I didn't see this one coming. The legendary actress Joan Collins has urged the London mayor to do something about cyclists after one allegedly crashed into her. So it comes after the TV presenter Dan Walker was knocked off his bike and injured while he was hit by a car earlier this week. And just this morning, Boris Johnson's father, Stanley Johnson, caused uproar after suggesting that cyclists don't need to wear high-vis or helmets. So, who is to blame for the growing number of disputes between car drivers and cyclists? Who's the biggest menace on the road? And the emails have been coming in thick and fast in this. Some of them, I must say, absolutely hilarious, by the way, so I'll be going to those shortly. But Robert Bull, the chairman-elect of the Alliance of British Drivers, and Caspar Hughes from the Stop Killing Cyclists campaign are, I believe, about to have an epic row. Robert, I'll start with you, just purely for the only reason that your name is first on the auto queue. The chairman-elect of the Alliance of British Drivers, who's a bigger menace, drivers or cyclists?
Well, I don't think. I know you want a row, but I'm not sure we're going to have one.
Right, get him off.
Both of them have some rights.
Go on, carry on.
I think both of them have some rights on the road. I think the problem that motorists view is that they don't typically pay much for it. They should get more careful, and I think personally they should wear helmets and they should wear visibility jackets. I mean, it's a sensible thing to do, isn't it, if you want to save your own life? OK, well, Caspar, I will paraphrase very much what's been said there, which is that, you know, you're all on the take, you don't pay any road tax and you don't protect yourselves.
We do pay, well, no, we don't pay road tax because that's been abolished. Churchill abolished that in 1937. There's vehicle excise duty now, which electric vehicles don't pay either. And bikes do, 1/17,000th of the damage to road wear that cars do. So, you know, actually, if, you know, for every mile cycled, it adds 50p to the economy. For every mile driven, it takes £1 away from the economy.
OK, I'm obviously going to have to ask you to push back on that a little bit. Caspar, how does it add 50p to the economy if someone cycles for a mile, Caspar?
Or should we? Or how does it cost £1 to the economy for every mile that's driven? Should we start there instead? Right. Noise pollution costs £20 billion a year, which the majority of which comes from cars, emissions, pollution, inactivity disease costs £6 billion a year.
To be fair, Caspar, that bit was quite obvious. I'm just intrigued to know about why it adds 50p. I get the damage that cars do, right? No one's disputing that cars cause pollution. But what's the 50p added to the economy from cycling?
Oh, it's because obviously there is no pollution. They improve people's health, they improve people's mental health, which in turn has a hugely positive effect on the workforce of this country. OK, I think we've made that up, haven't we? But there we go, Robert. OK, go on. You respond to that. No, we haven't made that up.
Well, I mean, I've never heard quite so much rubbish. Basically, you need to look at what makes this country work. And that is that 85% of commuters use cars. Therefore, we should be spending money in the place where people are choosing to travel. Tremendous amount of money spent on cycling, and half the time they don't even use the cycleways anyway. Now, I don't live in London, thank goodness, and so I'm not sure that I'm right to comment on the actual London part. But certainly down here in Bristol and that local area, the level of cycling is extremely low, and why so much money is spent on providing them with facilities, which often they don't use anyway. They more likely seem to cycle in the road than on their own sort of cycleways. So I don't understand all the money bit. I mean, that's just crazy. I don't understand how cars can cost that. If you took them all off the road, the country would come to a stop. I mean, how can you say that they're costing the country money?
Are cyclists, Caspar, arguably more of a threat to pedestrians cycling on pavements or doing things like that?
No, they're not. Everybody that's been killed on the pavement for the last 15 years has been killed by a driver. But actually, just going to what he's talking about, going to what Robert's talking about here, the cycling infrastructure is a tiny, minuscule proportion of the transport budget that the government spends in this country. In fact, we've been campaigning for it to be 20% of the transport budget, which is what the UN has said in 2016 it should be. Because Robert makes a really good point there. People choose to drive because it's convenient, and they don't choose to cycle because it's not safe. And if you make public transport and active transport convenient and safe, people will get out of their cars. And of course, transport is the largest emitting sector with regard to emissions. It's a driver of climate change, and we need to get people out of their cars and onto safe, active and public transport.
I do appreciate...
difficulty making that argument once all cars are electric, aren't you?
Go on, expand on that.
At all, because of the embedded emissions in cars. It's 12 tonnes of embedded emissions in a car. Over its lifetime, it would equate to around about 70% of our allocated emissions if we were to agree to our Paris Agreement obligations.
Robert, do you just find cyclists quite annoying when they're all there with the GoPros and the Lycra and they're cycling 3 abreast on a country lane?
I think annoying, again, is wrong. It can be frustrating. They do seem to sometimes make an attempt to block cars, particularly on country roads. My son's an avid cyclist, and I'm not against cycling at all. But I do think that they have their own responsibility, which they should be taking. And certainly cycling, particularly in the dark, without any lights or anything that reflects off of car headlights, seems to be a crazy thing to me.
Now, look, I get what you're saying, Caspar, about the potential nuance of... You said that no one had been killed on a pavement by a cyclist, I think you said, for the last 15 years. I did just quickly Google pedestrian killed by cyclist, and, West Lothian pedestrian, cyclist who killed a pedestrian in London, jailed. So, there are jumped red lights. And it's on that one, actually.
They weren't on pavements.
Okay, very
you said on pavements, so they weren't on pavements. And if you want to go down that route, then of the 1,700 people killed a year by drivers kill and maim every 5 people a day are killed by drivers. It's just a total nonsense argument that
I haven't made the argument yet because I haven't been able to ask a question. I was going to ask the question: should cyclists have number plates so that we can more clearly identify them?
Yes.
Well.
So you think
every day in London there's 5 hit and runs by drivers. A lot of them get away. They've got number plates on there. We're all identifiable because we're all unique. There's no reason at all to impose. And anyway, the DFT have said it would be absolutely an administrative nightmare and not cost effective remotely.
Robert, would it make you feel better as, the chairman-elect of the Alliance for British Drivers, when you're driving around in cycle lanes, etc., or a pedestrian even, if you knew that all cyclists were clearly identifiable by a number plate, do you think that's something that would make you feel safer?
Well, it wouldn't make me feel any safer. It might make them feel safer. But I think it's not a question of safety in the car. We have to take account of cyclists. I accept that. You have to give them space and all those things. But if you can't see them, if this action is on whether you can see them, then why on earth do they not wear bright clothing that you can see? This has cropped up, I think, from Dan Walker. And from what I've seen in the videos, he just had dark clothing on. And he also put himself in a very vulnerable position on a roundabout. But, as I say, I can't talk for London cycling because I wouldn't go to London.
OK. Just very finally, both of you, I think the answers to this are going to be rather predictable, but we'll have it nonetheless. Caspar, who's worse in terms of road rage? Is it cyclists or drivers? Caspar?
Road rage? If road rage leads to killed or seriously injured, then proportionally you would have to say that drivers are. But I'm not. Actually, having listened to what Robert said, I think actually there's loads and loads of common ground here. Like Robert's saying, his son's a cyclist. I'm a driver. I've worked in transport. I've got a YTS in car mechanics. Right. We all need to be. It's not a case of sharing the road here, but we all need to take responsibility and proportional responsibility for the vehicles that we're driving. OK, Robert, same question to you, and we'll round this off. Do you think that sometimes cyclists are a bit aggy, or actually do drivers get very wound up by them and toot their horn and scare them? Well, I think if they don't like tooting their horn and scaring them, I think if they deliberately block you from going past, then I think that's a problem. Not many of them do that, admittedly, but when they do, it is a problem. But as I say, I think my
main bone of contention would be that they're driving around or riding around with dark clothes. I mean, as the summer comes on, it won't be so bad, but in the winter nights, it's very difficult.
All right, both of you, I must say I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Thank you very, very much. I'd hope to get you both back on again soon. That's Robert Bull there, the chairman-elect of the Alliance of British Drivers, and Caspar Hughes from Stop Killing Cyclists. Just doing some way there to put the side up for who's a bigger menace in light of the fact that maybe cyclists will have to wear helmets and high vis, and potentially drivers could do a little bit more to, well, not hurt them, I suppose. Right, moving on.